Hi there. How you doing? This mic can be used as well. It's on. So you need to go on and make sure you're materials in this one for the feedback.
Okay. So I do this far away from that list.
But I would say like if because I'm not sure this slides. I do not need to show you this. In this way, so you actually.
So this is
this is actually the Hangout people looking at this one.
Okay.
So I'm gonna move here. I'm gonna present this one.
Okay, and then clicker here. This is
So as soon as you're ready, let me know so I can. You need to unmute yourself in here.
okay. Are
So
we good to
there
kick
you can. Yeah. So if you use that mic, you need to be a bit
Testing.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the 5th DoubleClick Digital Marketing event, and the first ever to be both on-site and streamed live from the air. So you guys are all pioneers. My name is Darren Daunt. This is a photo of me when I was 12. I've aged considerably since then. I head up platform sales for our independent agencies. And first off, I would like to thank you all for those of you who are here in person being here and attending, and those of you who are on the Hangout for tuning in. We host this event very regularly with a couple of objectives in mind. First is to update on latest feature releases across the whole DBM stack. Also to kind of demystify some key features across the DBM stack, so workshopping that out. I think that one of the other major kind of focus points here is what are the key trends in the market and how is Google and DoubleClick driving them or responding to them in our technology suite. And lastly, it also gives you some face time with some of our product specialists as well. I suppose my ask or our ask of you guys is just to be engaged and to ask questions as well as we go on. This is what it's for. Speaking of those product experts, with you today, we have for DS, Julie. For DRM, we have Emma, who is not here yet, but is going to arrive. We have Tolu for DCM. We have Matthew for DBM. And lurking then back with intent is Phil, who is our senior sales manager. So, as I mentioned, this is, we try to make this an interactive session, so please do ask questions. From those of you in the audience here in front of me, that's very easy, just raise your hand, we'll bring out a mic to you. For those of you on the Hangout, if you have a Google account and you go to the top right section, you'll see the screenshot there, there's a Q&A section, and you can ask questions there. Just one thing to note, because this is being streamed via Hangout on Air, some data and content, confidential content, may not be answered in this forum. So if you do have those questions, we'll strive to come back to them individually. And here is the agenda. So first off, we look at latest DoubleClick product launches. So I think we've got some exciting content around things like data-driven attribution in DCM, the strategy optimization opportunities in DS, using DAR. So some really interesting content that you guys will run you through. Then it is either an audience or an attribution workshop, depending on the preference. And the directions will come when we get to that section. And then after that, there'll be a short break, and everyone will come back in here. And there will be an industry update on verification of fraud delivered by Phil. And then there'll be some questions. There'll be some time for Q&A as well. But with that, I will hand you over to Tolu, and hope you have a really good day and that it's valuable and important. Thank you.
Thank you, Zach. My name is Tolu Hunstein. I'm an Ad Solutions Consultant on the DoubleClick device. Kind of my major is DCM, but I'm not going to do that to you. So I'm going to take you through some of the latest releases that have happened so far this year. The first one is the upload of third-party assets. So you can now upload your third-party assets to DCM, and that includes your redirects and your live stream redirect creatives. It means that you now have a centralized place in which you can upload all of your assets to report on as well as to traffic. And therefore, you can actually track everything in DCM and actually report on them as well. So you can actually access that feature when you go into your campaign, and then just go batch upload, and you will see 2 prompts in which you can then pick which one. Either is it creative assets, or is it the third-party URLs that you're actually. And this will actually enable you to, if you've already created the site placements, that this will automatically assign those creatives to your placements and then generate the tags for you. You can either, if you have, your publisher has access to the actual platform, they can either go in and download the tags, or you can actually send the tags yourself. Then the second one release that we have is the HTML5 validation tool. And if you've ever dealt with our HTML5 creatives trying to actually upload them into DCM, there is a lot of backwards and forwards going between creative agencies about how to make them compatible. And I have to admit, we sometimes will say, they're the ones that create the creatives, so we may not be able to help you that much. So this is excellent tool that actually basically makes the HTML5 assets compatible in the DCM platform. And the beauty also of this validation tool is the fact that you can just send them the URL to the creative agency. So they can do all the work for you and then make sure that those creatives are actually compatible with DCM and will work properly. Then we have extra invalid events on your video activity. So we have now the benefit against all of your video assets, traffic quality filters, otherwise known as spam. So anything, we will detect bot activity, we will detect invalid events, and also we will detect auto-refresh that sometimes publishers do. So these figures will be stripped out before you actually start reporting on your video. And then finally, my colleague Darren mentioned, we have data-driven attribution modeling. I will be hosting an attribution session later on today, and this came out about 2.5, maybe 3 weeks ago, and it is the fact that you don't have to so much think about now your attribution. It's a machine learning algorithm. You select in the attribution dashboard. It needs to train for 7 days, and then you can start applying the analysis to your data. On that note, I will hand you over to my colleague, Julie.
Hi, so I'm going to talk to you about DoubleClick Search and the new releases that our product team have deployed in the last 3 months. It's quite a lot of features, and there are mainly around 4 areas: the reporting, the optimization, what we call administration, and the last one, engine accounts. The first part will be in the administration. So previously, you were only able to link engine account, and to create new advertiser, you had to reach out to our support team and send them a form and say, please create this new advertiser. Now, agency manager, they are able to create new DS advertiser directly from the interface. That means it's a quicker turnaround, and you don't have to reach out to us to perform this task. The requirements are that you need to have access to the DCM advertiser, because the user that is performing the task need to have this access. Because you know that there is a one-to-one link between your DCM advertiser and your DS advertiser, so it's the main requirement. Then you need to be an agency manager. That's the second requirement, because we only allow this type of user to create new advertiser. And then you can see here, we try to show you on the screen what are the key information that you need to fill in when you create a new advertiser. First one, you need to think at the currency that you're setting up. The main reason is because you need to make sure that it's aligned with what you have set up in DCM. If in DCM you have euro and then you set up a DS advertiser in pounds and you will display such activity, you might have reports that are reporting information in different currencies. So you need to have this in mind when you create the advertiser. And if you're not sure, you can reach out to us and we'll help you to do this setup as efficiently as possible. Then the next thing that is really important is the conversions API. Why we need it? It's because this is what we will use, or this is what you will use if you need to upload, for example, offline data. Or this is also what you will need to use if you want to import IBM digital analytics metrics data. And finally, what is mostly common use, it's to import Google Analytics data. If you're using auto-tagging, all you need to do to import GA data is to just switch on this box and then put your UA profile in. The next administration feature that was released is what we call Advertiser Manager Role. So what does this do is to enable you to have access to some more functionalities. Up to this feature were released, you needed to be agency manager to edit your engine account settings. So that means if, for example, you needed to change your URL template, or you needed to link a new engine account, you needed to be an agency manager, which is not ideal, and that's why we've created this new advertiser manager role. So the agency manager will have to create this new user and give them access to some specific advertisers where they want the user to be able to perform additional actions. This role also enables you to download reports and upload conversions through the API. So it's not just used just for the UI, it's also useful if you are leveraging DS API. And finally, before I move on to the next section, is this user will not be able to control and manage the other user access. That's quite important when you're setting it up. Next part is engine account support. The first feature I wanted you to be aware of is RLSA for shopping campaign. Before this release, you were able to retarget users for your normal search campaign. Now, with this release, you can also target ads or adjust this for remarketing lists and for your shopping campaign. That's additional way for you to make sure that you're including or excluding the lists that are relevant for each of your shopping campaign. Next one, this one is quite a big one. It's an improvement on the AdWords share templates. So last year, you know that we migrated all AdWords Engine account to support AdWords upgraded URLs. And the change we're making now is migrating to support shared templates that are set up in AdWords at all levels. So prior to the migration, we would only be able to sync templates at keyword level. So every time you had to link a new Engine account, for example, we would ask you, please move your template to the lower level before syncing it into DS. Now that we are migrating to a higher level of support, we will be able to sync all templates. That's why you see this kind of correlation and everything will be the same. So if you don't have any templates, you will just see one template, one DSClick server set at the Engine account level, and this will be available in the AdWords shared library. If you have templates that are different per campaign, your templates will be set in the campaign tracking template, and it will be the same level in AdWords and in DS. So here's just a quick summary, and we hope that this will make it easier for you to manage your campaigns, because at the moment, before the migration, if you had a template at DS level in campaign, it would result in something with at keyword level in AdWords. So that could have been confusing. Next part is Bing shopping. So we've been supporting AdWords shopping for a while, and now for some specific markets, so the US, UK, Australia, Germany, and France, you can also sync your Bing shopping campaigns. The main requirement here is to make sure that your Bing and your Google Merchant Center have the same data. So one of the practices could be to make sure that you send the same feed to both engines, so then you're sure that the data will be the same. Next part is about reporting on the audience segmentation. So audiences is quite important, and Matthew and I will talk more in details about audiences for search and display in the second part. But this is one of the features that has been released by our product team in the last few months. So it's to allow you to segment or to put a dimension in your report to see in which age bracket or in which gender brackets your user were. So this information was available in AdWords, and now if you have AdWords auto tagging enabled, you'll also be able to see these metrics displayed in DS. And that can give you an additional insight to make sure that you're reaching to the correct audience and that your ads are as tailored as possible to your audience. Next part is GA conversions at product level. So before this release, you were able to see GA data, so like goals, conversions, revenue. You were able to see that up to the group level. So if your client was heavily reporting on GA data, sometimes it was requiring you to do a bit more reporting and analysis, maybe on the GA side, which is not ideal. So what we've done is enabling you to see this data directly. So seeing this data directly in DS interface. Next part is also an ask that we had quite a lot. It was for users to be able to see data by advertising group split in DS. So for example, it's being able to see your engine matrix grouped by search, display, partners. But now you can see that directly in DS, and one of the limitations, I said the current one, is that the floodlight conversions data is not available for partners network. Next one is more on the DS API side. So I don't know if some of you are using it, but it's kind of a good way for you to automate how you report on your data. If you have a team that is able to leverage the data available in the DS reporting or conversion API, for example, you can then extract information directly from the database without having to connect to the interface and set up reports. So with this new release, what it means is that if you have clients that are using purchase details reporting, so it's additional information that are specific to products, and this is really helpful for your retailer clients, then you will be able to also see this data in the DS reporting API. Now, moving on to the optimization part, there was a major release in terms of bid strategy opportunities. So one of the feedback we had from clients is quite often they didn't know which bid strategy to start, which values to set when they are implementing new bid strategies. So with this feature, you will see under the bid strategy section in the UI, you will see this new tab, bid strategy opportunities. In this tab, you can create some goals, some targets that are relevant to your advertiser. So if your advertiser goal is to increase the traffic, increase the volume of conversion, increase the revenue, all you have to do is create your targets, and once it's available, after 24 hours, you should see some recommendation. The recommendation will only show if we are really sure that we can improve the performance. If your campaigns are already assigned to some bid strategies, we will not show any recommendation. Next part is ability for you to optimize on the custom floodlight variables. So up to now, you were able to optimize on some specific floodlight activities that you would have created in DCM and synced to DS. Now with this release, you can select some specific custom floodlight variable to optimize on it. So for example, you could optimize on new users. If you know that some of your campaigns or ad groups are specifically targeting new users and you have a strategy just for them, then you can set up a new strategy specifically on that. I'll hand on to Emma.
I'm going to be gripping this water for dear life because I have a cough, so I apologise in advance if I stop coughing. So my name is Emma Crawford. I work mostly in rich media for DoubleClick, a lot with creative and across the sort of display stack. And I have one product update for the end, but I want to start with something else first. So we've just released a study after a year of research on what we believe creative for a programmatic world should look like. So we're calling it a data-driven creative. We're not calling it programmatic creative like a lot of people are in trade press, just simply because creatives have already been targeting audience for a long time. This is just more about the extra data that is available and bridging those gaps that are appearing between the display and creative side of things. So the main point is obviously that advertisers, media agencies, everyone has access to a lot more insight and data than they used to before. And this is fantastic. This is exactly what everyone wants and needs, but it's also causing a little bit of a headache and confusion on where to start and what that means. So programmatic is obviously the technology which helps capitalize on that data. It gives you that data in real time. And the promise of programmatic is that the data has the ability to reach the right person in the right moment. The problem is how do you have an impact once you're there? And that's what people are really struggling with, missing the mark. So the real opportunity is, of course, the ability to reach the right person in the right moment with the right message. And that's where creative comes in. So we're not saying this needs to be a massive rich media dynamic campaign. We're just saying we need to consider data and what is available and what message there is to match up with the creative, be it standard or be it rich media. So how do you get started with data-driven creative? We conducted a year-long piece of research along with some brands. So we worked with Vichy from L'Oreal. There was Guild, which was in the US. Vichy was done in EMEA. And then the Royal Bank of Canada. I'm going to call it the Royal Bank of Scotland at some point because it just rolls off the tongue. So the Royal Bank of Canada works obviously in the US as well. And this was alongside Accenture as a research partner with DoubleClick. And we used Fancy Pants Group, who's a production agency in New York. And they're one of our creative partners that we work with. So we built some advanced dynamic campaigns using audience, environment, and some media data signals to inform creative and worked on the strategy from there. There was, as I said, 3 brands. So Guild worked on their 4 main product areas: men's fashion, women's fashion, home, and the kids and maternity wear. Royal Bank of Canada was working with travel people to try and push out their new credit card. And Vichy was trying to deliver sunscreen campaigns for 2 sort of paths. One was for sunscreen that was directly for women and adults to use, and then one was for women to buy for their kids. So 2 themes there. And this is what we were running to in conjunction. So we had lots of findings, and the main points that we pulled out are that there are 3 key mind shifts to improve the creative process for programmatic. One is improving the data. We all know our advertisers' data pretty well. I think with CRM-wise, we all know what their goal is, but we don't necessarily look at all of the data that's available. Whether they're collecting on site, whether they've got it in your floodlights, for example, from DoubleClick, or what you can buy and what is useful. You can buy a lot, and it might not have much effect. In the same way, it would have the biggest effect of all. The next part was creative and creative agencies. The creative teams need to have an idea of what data you're working with. They may have some reference, but of course as media, you tend to own most of the data, have access to the data, and have a lot of information behind that, and it doesn't necessarily get passed on to the creative agencies. And they need this to be able to start informing their creative strategies with what you're working with. So it's really great if you can give that to them at the beginning. And then the final part, which is in conjunction with the second, is to drive a collaborative process. We can't keep working in silos. Everyone has access to little parts, and the whole programmatic theme and creative and actually tying it up in a loop is what comes with only working in collaboration with everyone else. So this release has got a 5-step process, 5-phase process. There's a lot more information, and I'll link you to it in a minute. But I can give you a brief idea of what was decided. Ooh, so stopped. So before you begin, you have to assemble your team. So of course, there is always the marketer and the advertiser. From there, there's always a media agency, and there's a creative agency. What we found is in most of this workflow and process, there's also the production agency, who are actually responsible to be creative. And another part that seems to get forgotten, but actually has a key input into obviously making sure the creative is at least ready for you to use and target. And within each part, there's many other parts that need to come together. So as a media agency, you could be doing the comms and strategy, but at the end of the day, there's a trafficker somewhere that needs to make sure it's going to the right place. And they don't know how to do that if you haven't given them information. So getting everyone together and really making sure everyone's informed helps deliver a full process. So the 5 phases, which I'll walk you through in a second, are phase 1 of gathering insights. Phase 2, collaborate on the brief and align the agencies. Phase 3 being mostly creative, so working on the design and developing the creative. Phase 4, QA, traffic and launch. Can't do that if you don't know what the whole strategy of the campaign is. And phase 5, learning and optimizing. It doesn't end, it's a circle for a reason, and we need to keep taking that data and putting it back into the next campaign and the next campaign. And quite often we do see advertisers working to maybe 4 steps, but I don't necessarily see everyone doing the 5th and going back and starting again. So, phase 1 of gathering insights. Collect and segment your audiences. It helps build your segmentation strategy. It helps figure out what you can and can't do. A lot of people start off with these wonderful ideas and then not do anything. And then a lot of people will either have access to all the data and find it really hard to actually execute. So finding that middle ground and figuring out what needs to be done. Identifying those moments that matter, when you want to engage with your audience and prospects and what you actually want to do, and thinking about the signals. What your consumers giving off, what do you need, what you're looking for, or also what perhaps can be more fill that noise, what is better. Phase 2, collaborate on the digital brief. Collaborate on digital brief and align agencies. So have a kick-off, everyone in the room, everyone on the call. It really helps making sure everyone's aligned. And there's nothing worse than everyone's done it. You start off going into a campaign midway through, you don't understand what's going on. Do you ask the questions of what's happened in the past, or are you going to slow it down? If you're there for the beginning, it's much simpler. So this is the most important step of the entire process to make sure it runs smoothly. You can plan from the beginning, put everyone in, and you're good to go. Stage 3, so designing what the creative needs to do. What elements need to change based on what signals? What does that mean? And how we design the creative template. So that's why the creative side needs to know what they're targeting. Do they need to know what audience is going on? Do they need to figure out how many creative versions they need to build? How many audiences you're working with? All of these need to be combined. And then once you've done that, work on your messaging, tactics, visual assets. All of that needs to be improved and begin to be developed for your creative. Phase 4. So this is the QA, the traffic and the launch. Something that happens in every single campaign, and everyone always asks questions about it, gets stuck. So when there's no complex creative execution, it always gets a little bit more complicated. So setting up the campaign, the ad server and the programmatic buying platform. Make sure the reporting is ready to go. Make sure it is exactly what you need when you're down the line, instead of realizing that something's not being reported on. Make sure that everything across the agency is QA'd. What are you doing in DCM versus what are you doing in DBM? All of these things. And then before launch, which is obviously a great thing to have if you have time, it's probably time something that never necessarily exists. But a soft launch, run a small budget, have a little test, make sure it's working, make sure everything's reporting, pull a report. Very few people pull reports midway through a campaign to see if the creative is working well. So that creative part needs to make sure that it's actually coming across in all that work that you've done to set it up, to segment, to target, make sure the creative is good. So same phase 5, learning and optimizing. So again, I said this before, there's the whole loop of making sure that you pull in that data, how did that campaign go, but also how was the campaign going after a week? Could you turn off some creative? Could the creative make some changes? Is there one creative that's massively working really well? Do you need to maybe perhaps weight that one further? Or do you have any data that could go back to the creative agency? So all of this can be brought together and done in phases, for campaign, report, or weekend. Depends how long campaigns for, but a month in. And then at the end, pull that campaign report and see. If you're testing, make sure you've actually got significant sample size, make sure you've got the impressions behind it to give you the data that you need by the end of the campaign. So there's a lot more of this, there's just the basic outline. If you head to DoubleClick.google.com, then there's loads more information on the creative process. There's an infographic, all of the slides, a lot more information. Send it out to your creative agencies as well. That's just as useful as anything else. It's all good stuff. Some of it makes sense, lots of it's common sense, but so many of these things get stuck midway through, and perhaps if there was a planning right at the beginning, a lot of that could be avoided. So, on to a latest release. So, if you work with virtual media and studio, then you may have worked with Dynamic. And Dynamic is a great product. It's fantastic in making sure that you have less creative, but a lot more options. But one of the main things that we've noticed is the targeting and the setup, particularly between media and creative, becomes a little long-winded, which would be about working with IDs. It could be an ad ID, it could be a placement ID, it could be a creative ID. All of these things need to be put into a feed sometimes to be able to make sure the creative is targeted to the right place. So what we've launched is something called dynamic targeting keys. And this helps avoid the ID hell that probably ensues and links between creative and media. So dynamic keys are a new feature. They're a little bit like a keyword, but it's an actual built-in feature that you set up both in DCM and in Studio, and you have a set of 150 keys per advertiser. And these keys can then be assigned and targeted into the feed and through dynamic creative. What's good about these keys is that it can be predefined. You can do this at the beginning of the campaign. There's no last-minute rush of making sure that ad ID is in the right feed at the right time. The creative agency can work, for example, with models of cars. That would be a good one. You always know that you're going to be targeting that creative to that audience or that model. So set up your keys as the model. Just write it in. So there's no set format. It just is words, numbers, whatever you need. And you predefine those between media and creative. And then when you've set up the creative side, you target to your key. And then on the media side, when you come to traffic, you just assign your dynamic targeting key at that point. So it's actually really simple, super easy to use, and I would highly recommend using it. I think it'll save a lot of headaches if you run any dynamic campaigns. It can be done across many different ways of targeting, so it's definitely really useful. And that's it.
Thank you.
Hello. Thank you. Hi guys, my name is Matthew and I'm a platform specialist working on DBM. So I'll give you guys a few updates on new features on DBM. How many of you in the room are familiar with Bid Manager? Okay, good. We have a good one. In terms of latest releases, the first one is the quality tab. So this is at IE level, where you see all your different line items. We used to have two tabs here, the performance and the pacing tab. We just added a new tab called the quality tab, which enables you basically to have a breakdown of all your impressions based on viewability. So if you look at the first one here, you see all your impressions and you see a blue bar, a dark blue bar, which is your viewability goal. And you have the light blue bar, which represents how many of your impressions are actually viewable. So you can see how you're comparing based on your goal. There's also a breakdown of all your impressions displayed next to sensitive categories. So on all of these, again, you can click on them and you have a good overview of everything here. You don't see all the categories, but you will see all the impressions that you've served next to one of those categories, and then you can act as you want based on that. And you have also a breakdown of all your digital content label. So if you click on that last part here, you will see a breakdown of what each color means. Basically, each color represents one content label, and you'll be able to know how many of your impressions are against one another. And based on that, you can change your targeting if needed. This is a new report available in Bid Manager. So Nielsen Digital Ad Ratings report. You can pull this report just like any other report. You go to create new report, Nielsen Digital, and then you have those 4 profiles that are created by default. So I'm not going to go through all of them, but you have the audience profile, the reach profile, the site and global market. And you can get basically information about reach all the time, about the different websites where your ads are serving, and so on. And those are all the metrics that you have access to. I realize this is quite small. I don't know if you can see everything, but you have information such as population, unique audience, impressions, audience reach, and so on. This is all in Bid Manager Help Center if you want to learn a bit more about this, and feel free to pull some reports as well. So these are all the metrics for Nielsen. A new update that we have is the way you can target audience lists within line items. So when you're inside the line item, you go in the targeting tab, and then you go to new audience. This is what you will now see. So you can filter by first or third party audience. You can add in-market and affinity audiences as well. You can play around with and/or operations. You can combine multiple audience lists. You can include and exclude if needed, and you can, on top of that, add recency to all your audiences. So this is quite useful, and you get a nice graph giving you a good idea of the amount of users you're targeting. And the last one is just a minor update we've had in the UI. There's been a lot of confusion on the ISP and carrier targeting, so we've changed it a bit. Now it's easier. Basically, you can filter by carrier or by ISP, and if you want to target any device which is connected to the Wi-Fi, you only find this option in a carrier filter. Up to the back end, it's the same basically. And I think this is my next slide. Do you guys have any questions on any of these? Now we're ready to take questions. Doesn't have to be on Bid Manager. It can be anything related to DoubleClick. No questions? Yeah. Could we check if you have anything on the? Sorry.
So now how do we go to the...
There's a slight delay between here, live event, and the Hangout, so it might take a few seconds for questions to come in if you have any. Is it possible to improve the sound quality? We'll do our best. Should we say?
And the sound is pretty common, so we put channel.
Okay.
Yeah. So, just so you know, I actually sent a link to the YouTube video. So if you are in Hangout and the sound is not very good, I would actually suggest that you use the link in in YouTube instead. And yeah, so sorry for that.
Cool. Just going to bring up my presentation. We're going to retake it a little bit and do the my presentation next, which is the around ad fraud and verification. And then we'll be going then into the workshops after that. Sweet. Nice squashed photo of my face there. Unless I actually look like that, which is then a bit worrying. Thanks guys, so I'm going to talk about verification and fraud protection. This is not a hot topic, but probably a consistent topic in the market around online advertising. So I thought I'd give you an overview today of what we're doing in that space. I'm going to show you a few kind of features in a few of the products, some of which are in DCM, some of which are in DBM, and then some of which you don't actually see, which is just kind of operating behind the scenes to try and filter out fraud and spam. I'm going to show you this cartoon, which kind of sets the scene of what we'll actually be talking about today. It kind of covers it quite nicely when we actually talk about ad spam and fraud protection. Obviously, it's it's a popular kind of topic for agencies, and especially with advertisers and end clients. Those of them that kind of, traditionally haven't worked with the types of metrics that we've worked with before in this space or in this landscape. So understanding things like viewability and content and ad fraud is kind of key to ensure that we are showing the right ads to actual people and that they are actually viewed. So cool, we'll kick off. I kind of explained why it's important, but there's kind of three kind of key areas that we look at when we're looking at content verification or verification generally and ad fraud. Obviously, it's increased confidence in digital advertising. We're all here to kind of learn more about digital advertising and try and drive performance and try and drive the kind of usage of that medium, but when there's not much confidence behind where our ads are showing or what our ads are actually doing, then obviously there's an issue. So why should we care? Obviously to increase confidence in digital advertising. Action on inefficiencies. So some of the things I'm going to say we'll also highlight around where inefficiencies actually lie and what we can do to actually avoid those inefficiencies. And also trying to reduce the amount of manual work that's involved, stuff like this as well, because you can't have your eye on everything. There's millions and millions of impressions served every day, and you can't check to see where every single one is served. So that's where you guys can rely on tools and technology to do that for you. And getting the most out of investment as well. So you should get what you pay for, basically. You shouldn't be paying for anything that isn't seen by a human or isn't appearing in the right place. So again, some of the stuff we'll go through today, we'll cover off that as well. Cool. So the key things which I'm going to show you today, some of which you might probably already have seen or already played within DoubleClick, but these are kind of the main ones. So we'll look a little bit at active view and viewability, which is essentially answering the question, were my ads actually seen? The next one we'll look at fraud protection. So were your ads actually seen by a human? This one has traditionally been a little bit of a black box in the past. We haven't really surfaced what we've been doing around fraud protection. but this year we're kind of making more of an effort to kind of help you guys understand what's going on there. Content verification, ad blocking, so what content did my ad serve against? Was it anything bad? What protection do we have in place on those types of features to stop that from happening? Audience verification, GRP, so where my ad seen, but I had a right target audience. Kind of touched on this a little bit already. We'll go through some of the other integrations we have as well. And then finally, what did my target audience think about my ads? So this is just a feature specifically for YouTube, but we'll kind of finish up on that. Then I'm happy to take any questions at the end of this as well. Cool, so viewability is kind of like the main, well, again, this is a pretty hot topic. We have our own proprietary tool, many of you know already, called ActiveView. It measures on the IAE standard, which is at least 1 second in view for at least 50% of the ad in view during the time, or it's 2 seconds per video. This is all kind of baked into the DoubleClick platform, so any display ads that you're running from DCM or DBM will automatically be wrapped for ActiveView and will be actually be measured for viewability metrics. So if you are actually running an ad display and it's those two products, this stuff is already running for you. So you can pull those reports and take a look into that measurement. No added cost in that as well. It's running for display and video. We're also including mobile as well. What isn't there is mobile in-app at the moment. That's not really kind of like feature limitations, more of an ecosystem limitation at the moment. In that space is quite hard to measure things like viewability, so there's a bit of work going on around that. So hopefully that should come down the line. And extensive coverage as well. So if we talked about ActiveView about a year ago from today, we'll be getting around 60 to 70% of eligible impressions that would be eligible to be measured for viewability. That's a lot higher nowadays, and that's a reflection on obviously viewability is an important aspect of display advertising, and also a reflection on how the ecosystem is kind of catching up to things like this. So we can actually measure on more sites now than we can do before and measure more impressions. Cool. These kind of a rough view of kind of like some types of metrics you can get. I kind of won't go on that, but answer some questions at the end on viewability. What we also have alongside viewability is video verification, which includes a bit of video viewability as well. So video is an explosive kind of area at the moment across display advertising. So we've got growth in online video is phenomenal at the moment. But one of the key things around this is actually understanding that when you're video creator, as you can see, and with the kind of the player size that you want. I'll explain a bit more about that in seconds. But obviously viewability is an important aspect for video campaigns, mainly because most of the time, in fact, we're not actually looking for user interaction on the creatives. We're looking for a completed view, things like that. But obviously, a completed view on an unviewable impression is obviously not what you're after. So we've launched full viewability for video creatives, and we're tracking those at the moment. And what we've also launched, we can see in the screenshot here, is the video verification tool. So the video verification tool looks at firstly viewability, telling you what the viewability of the campaign is, but also how big the video player was when it actually ran that creative. So one of the things about video creatives, and not to get too technical, but when we look at actual VAS tags, which are the kind of video ad tags, they can be resized. So those you can resize them to fit numerous different ad slots that they have, and that's obviously kind of a consideration when running these types of campaigns, because obviously you might be able to resize them quite small, and then it's not as effective as how you'd like it, and how you'd like your video to run. So this tool, what it does is monitor that for you. So actually monitors the player size of the video creatives that you're running, and actually tells you that in the kind of handy little charts. And you can see here So you see here the ones in blue, they make questions that were kind of at least a large size. So how many questions were HD size, so you can large on that, and how many kind of fell into the small category. And what that enables you to do is look at campaigns, look at publishers, look at providers that you might be working with, and help identify the ones that might be pulling down your average player size or dragging it up, and so you can kind of reallocate to the most efficient channel possible. Cool. Ad fraud. So we'll spend a little bit of time on this as we kind of surface more and more kind of information from this area. Admittedly, we've been quite quiet around it, mainly because we don't really want to tell people what we're doing around ad fraud, because that means they can actually get around it. So we want to make sure that the stuff that we do talk about is relevant for you guys. So the first thing to mention is that we do have a full kind of ad spam and fraud detection team within Google. They sit in they sit across the world, and what they work on are algorithms and technology to help filter, detect, and remove any fraudulent clicks and impressions that occur during any display advertising. They've been doing this for years now. We actually acquired a company called Spider.io that were doing this independently. We acquired them, and that whole team has continued to work on that technology. It's now powering DoubleClick as well. It tackles some key areas, such as bot traffic, hidden ads, publishers who hide where the ads are or don't tell you the kind of indirect domain of what the ads are actually showing. And basically, it is active across anything that's running through DoubleClick. We're filtering all this out anyway, and I'll show you kind of some more insights on this as well. And that's it, that goes to cost as well. I think Tolu mentioned this before, but we're actually starting to surface some of those insights into what we're actually filtering out. So if you go into DCM and pull a report, you can now include, or DBM actually, you can now include invalid clicks and invalid impressions. And this is the type of stuff that we are, that gives you the metrics of what we're actually filtering out on those particular campaigns. But yeah, just to kind of make point is this is already running across DoubleClick on the background, and we have been doing this for a while now. I'm going to play a quick video now, which I geekily find quite interesting. Hopefully you do too. I hope this works. Yes, it does. So what we've got here is an example of bot traffic. There's no sound on it, so don't worry. We've got an infected computer, and it's got a virus. And we're going to show you kind of where that bot activity sits. As you can see right now, there's nothing really kind of running on the computer. There's just, a screen. But when we check the kind of network connections, it's actually sending and receiving quite a lot of data. But like I say, there's no browser open, there's nothing there, so what's it actually doing? We've installed like a custom program that allows us to kind of see what programs are actually running the computer and see them up there, the ones that we can see. What this program does is allows us to see anything that the computer's hidden, any programs or applications the computer's hidden. And you actually see there's loads. It's running in the background. Stuff that won't be obvious to you and me when we're actually running the computer. What we're going to do is, well, you can see up here, you can't quite see the writing, but what it says is that these are all windows and they're all maximized and in view, but obviously they're not because you can't see them on the desktop. So what we're actually going to do is make these windows visible and then see what we're actually doing. Get a bit ahead of the video now. So as we look at all these browsers, what you can see is these are all browsers that the virus has opened up, or the bot has opened up, and it's currently fake browsing these sites. So it's refreshing them, it's scrolling through them, and it's generating all these fake impressions in the background on the computer. I'm going to focus on one in particular. You can see that this kind of is just a standard size that's loaded up. You might refresh it so often. What you like to see as well is mouse overs on particular panels. There's actually faking mouse movements as well. So it's actually pretending to be a human in that way. So it's actually hovering over particular sections of the site. It sometimes performs clicks as well. So actually might click on various parts of the site. But all this is kind of fraudulent activity that the computer is running automatically in the background. This is the type of stuff that we're trying to filter out, or we are filtering out when we talk about. You see there actually it's just scrolled down the page as well, and it's actually clicked on a link. So it's brought to the page up within the sites. And this is just one infected machine. And as you saw before, there wasn't, an easy way to see that this computer was actually infected with this type of stuff. It could be running on, well, it is, currently running on, thousands of computers and personal computers across the world right now. So the key is, obviously, antivirus software does help out, kind of like find these things and remove it, but it's not always that simple. So sometimes you just have to filter out those impressions that are coming through on those infected machines. That's an example of a botnet, which the Spider.io guys kind of detected. I wanted to see how it was actually working. You can see the amount of kind of impressions that one computer would be generating alone. Imagine that was running all day. Imagine there was several of them. So that's our kind of mission, as it were, to kind of tackle those types of fraudulent impressions and spam clicks, and make sure you guys don't get charged for them. Cool. There we go. We've been doing this for a while. And some of the things that we've kind of discovered, is it's everywhere, right? It's not all in one place. It's all not down to one publisher. It's not all down to one kind of system. It's everywhere, and probably it's always going to be everywhere, right? It's technically a money-making business, kind of having spammy clicks and spammy impressions. But what we can do is start to expose, the bad actors, expose the methods for doing it, and really crank down and help the ecosystem and help the industry as a whole, help clamp down on those particular kind of subjects and educate those subjects so that everybody knows the signs and knows what to look for in the space. On this slide, it was just a quick one around what we're filtering out. These are a couple of charts. One of them is showing how many ads were being hidden, as we saw across different exchanges in DBM. And then there's a chart on the right-hand side is misrepresented inventory. So stuff that is saying it's on one site, but is actually on a different site. So as you see, by different providers, you can actually get quite large, like right up to around kind of 20% on some providers there. But again, this is, not to scare you by having these charts here, because this is all stuff that we're already filtering out. So this is stuff that you wouldn't actually see in any of your reports, wouldn't actually see in any of your kind of delivery methods, and this is stuff that we're already seeing and already filtering out. And this is kind of the mission of ours is to increase those filters and ensure that nothing that is kind of spammy avoiding those get through to your platforms. Cool. So on to content verification. So that's all well and good, filtering out, impressions made by, robots, basically. What we're actually going to move on to now is, okay, my site has appeared on somewhere where I don't want it to show up. There's a lot of providers who offer this in the market, and we actually work with them as well. So the likes of Integral, Double Verify, people like that. They all have their own methods for kind of categorizing content and ensuring that your ads don't show there. We do have our own feature within DCM, which is what I'll kind of show you quickly now. Again, completely free. It's in the verification section of DCM. But what you can do is, or what it does, you don't have to kind of set it up. It's already running on your kind of campaigns that are running through DCM. What it does is show kind of sites that you're appearing on, and whether we have flagged those domains or sites for any particular classifiers. And we'll go into a little bit more detail around that a little bit later on. Basically, it just flags it on kind of, do we think that page has violent content, suggestive content, adult content, things like that. What it also allows you to do is then make actions on that. So you actually say, this site is actually fine, carry on serving that. And on the flip side of that, you can actually say, no, this is bad, I don't ever want to appear there again. So you can actually put a pre-bid block in. So we'll actually have a serve there again. We've got a little bit more detail on this. This is, if I actually go and flip back to the last report, you can see all the domains kind of on this report here, and it says kind of what we flagged it for on the kind of right hand side. So suggested content, finality, things like that. What you can actually do is click on any of those domains, and it'll take the last screenshot that it actually had of the ad in that particular page. So for example here, this is the Xbox One ad that was in the center of the page there. And what the system has done, because we flagged that domain for having like particular content on there, it's took a screenshot of it. So you can actually take screenshots, well, it will also actually take screenshots of all these and tell you why it's been classified for whatever kind of classifier. So you see here, this one was Xbox One ad. On the right side, it says one impression. We give it a content score, so the content score is kind of, okay, contextually, is this kind of like a bad site? We set low here because it's the lyrics and news site. Of course, it's going to be violent content. Of course, it's going to be, you know, adult content on there because it's a news site. So it's got that low. The ones you want to watch out for are the ones that say kind of content score like high or critical. That's where you start the investigation there. It tells you the specific classifier that we apply to that site. So violence for this one is probably to do with the keywords that are on the page. Might be to do with war or something like that because it's a news site. But it's quite handy, you know, if you do want to take a screenshot, provide it to your publishers or suppliers and say, look, this is kind of where I appear, and I don't really want to appear there. Similarly, you can check the page and see if it's actually completely irrelevant. You might want to appear in there, you might want to appear on the sites like this, so you can actually just ignore it if you want. There is actually, it's kind of cut off on the screenshot, but there is actually a kind of section at the bottom, a little button that says report misclassification, and it's actually tell DCM itself saying this has actually been misclassified as violent content, and actually that will go back into the system. The good thing is, let's say we didn't actually want to appear there ever again, we can block that. So we can pre-bid block it, and we won't actually appear there again. So this is handy if you do want to kind of like blanket block domains or sites that you've appeared on. You can actually do this quite quickly. It's just a matter of clicking a button, and then you won't ever appear there again within DCM. Some kind of like other features of this tool. So we flag for around 18 standard classifiers, like I mentioned, there'll be like violent contents, suggested adult, things like that, political content as well. But you can also create your own. You actually tell the system what you care about and what to flag for. This is an interesting one because it can be used in various different ways. A couple of examples are using it for, well, obviously, you might use it for specific classifiers that you don't want to appear against. A common one is transport accidents. You don't want to be a travel company next to a travel accident that might be related to do with your company. Other ones include putting in kind of titles of publications or articles that might be detriment to your brand. So then what you can do is put in those kind of keywords and article names, and basically it will stop you showing, or will flag whenever you show against particular content that is related to that classifier. And then there's other ones as well. You can put in competitors' brands if you want to be flagged every time you show up next to a competitor's brands. There's different ways you can use it. Basically, in terms of custom classifiers, you just put in different keywords that you feel are the ones that kind of sum up your classifier as well. Digital content labels, I'll talk about in the next slide. And you've got customizable alerts and notifications as well. So what you can do is tell the system if you want to be emails every time the impression shows on those particular classifiers, or you just want to have a summary email, or you just want to check the interface yourself so no one can contact you at all. So you can customize those ones as well. Obviously, I've kind of touched on this already, but there's no additional tagging that needs to be done with this, or no additional cost. it's already running for any display campaigns that you're running through DCM at the moment. Again, like I mentioned, you can create or you can proactively stop your ads from serving altogether on specific specific domains. What's handy as well is if you kind of use this tool quite a bit, you can actually start to create blacklists. And you can actually use those blacklists in DCM, but also use those blacklists in DBM as well if you are running any DBM activity. It'll push those blacklists out from DCM to your DBM account so you can use them as well. Works for video as well. I kind of mentioned the categories already, those kind of a few of them. You can select or deselect them accordingly. So if you actually care about, don't really care about kind of gambling, maybe you are even into gambling clients, you can make sure that you still run there. Otherwise, you can actually completely block those. The ones on the left-hand side, they're actually taken from DBM, they're kind of digital content labels. So as well as us kind of looking at every kind of page that we show on, determining if it kind of touches on those or any other sensitive categories, we will also give the page a digital content label. And you've got kind of an example of them here. Pages can be categorized for general audiences, for audiences with parental guidance, teen or older. They're kind of like movie ratings, basically. So any page we do see, we do try and rate it for one of these content labels based on things like the keywords on the page, where the page links to and is being linked from, things like that. You can also exclude kind of any content that we haven't had a chance to rate yet in DBM itself. Cool. Flipping over now onto kind of TRP verification. So this is kind of an increasing area, specifically as the rate of video campaigns increase. So there's the need for kind of measurement on audience data, measurements on kind of the video campaigns effectiveness, things like that. So we have a couple of integrations around kind of TRPs and around on-target impressions, which I'll explain to you now. So TRPs, for anybody who doesn't know, they're kind of the main kind of measurement metric on the TV side of things. And basically what we're doing is bringing those within DCM as well, within DoubleClick, to sit alongside any of the regular type of performance metrics as well. What they do, well, I kind of mentioned we have a couple of integrations. The first is with ComScore. So ComScore has a panel that they use to track kind of things like awareness, recall, but also kind of measurement of whether your ads are actually seeing the target audience that you selected. So this is integrated within DCM already. So what you can do is actually activate a campaign for kind of ComScore measurement, and what we'll start to do is track that campaign against this panel, and then at the end of the campaign, you can then see any insights on how on-target your impressions are against the target audience that you wanted to ultimately reach. We've also got integration with Nielsen as well. Used to be called Nielsen OCR, it's now called Nielsen DAR, Digital Ads Rating. This is kind of a similar way to kind of ComScore as well. Actually, Nielsen data looks at kind of other kind of audience data online as well. But what it allows you to do is, again, kind of track your campaigns and ensure that they're actually appearing against the right target audience that you wanted to target. Give you an example in both these cases. I'm running a video campaign, and I only want to show to males 18 to 34. What these providers can do will allow you to actually see, okay, did we actually hit that audience, or did we stray outside of those parameters? And if we did stray outside those parameters, which providers are doing that, and which providers are actually giving us our own target impressions. So again, this will tie back to the media efficiency side of things, and ensuring that you're putting your money in the right place, around the right kind of targeting methods and the right providers that are giving you the best kind of bang for your buck in terms of audiences and data. I kind of mentioned this already, but basically these are the two methods essentially for Nielsen and ComScore. Nielsen kind of basically add a pixel tracking to your kind of ads within DoubleClick, and then it checks, it monitors the campaign throughout. Pretty much the same kind of ComScore. It is a tagging solution, so basically you set up a campaign with the DCM, and it actually automatically kind of appends the pixel to those creatives, so you don't actually have to do anything yourself. It'll just do that already. It is only available in a few markets though, I have to point that out to those of you who are tuning in from various markets across Europe. It's available in the UK, I think I actually mentioned some there. There are a few different markets, but I'd best check with the DoubleClick account manager if it's available in your markets as well. The last thing I'll show you is brand lift. So this is specifically for YouTube and specifically for DBM, but basically it's a measurement tool that we're pulling in from the YouTube TrueView types of things. So those of you who've run any YouTube campaigns or TrueView campaigns may already know this, but this is a way to measure the effectiveness of your YouTube campaigns that you'll be running through DBM. What is brand lift? So brand lift is a survey study that runs whilst your campaign is actually running. So what it can do is every kind of few impressions or every so often, instead of serving the user the video created from YouTube or TrueView, it'll actually show a survey question saying something like, do you remember seeing an ad for this brand in the last 7 days? Or do you remember seeing an ad for any of these brands in the last 7 days? And it'll give like a list of some brands and some competitors' brands. And what these do is enable you to pull a report at the end of your YouTube campaign on things like ad recall. So do people remember watching the video ads? And then brand lifts. So are people more interested in the brand now? And then seeing, you can also match that with kind of any increase in search queries across Google. This is a fairly popular tool, or fairly popular feature within the AdWords side of things. So any kind of like clients or agencies that have been using TrueView for a while probably know this already and know how they run. Those of you who don't, they're pretty kind of fairly straightforward to set up. There are a few considerations. And to get started on them, you will have to reach out to your account manager. It's not something that you can kind of set up within the interface. Your account manager should be able to kind of guide you on setting up the brand lift surveys. But some of the considerations, you know, there's a set requirement attached to it. So the campaign has to last at least 7 days and has to have at least $1,000 a day investment for those 7 days. And then that gives us a sizable enough sample that we can then draw the conclusion from. There are some kind of additional features, so we can do brand awareness consideration, and we'll also do favorability and purchase intents that do require a little bit more investment. So these kind of questions around, are consumers more aligned with my brand's message and identity? Are users more intent on purchasing my product after watching the video? Obviously, kind of like larger sample sizes than those ones, and hence the increased spend requirements. But these are a great way to actually tie back any you know, YouTube activity that you're running through DBM to actual performance or any more brand metrics. So currently at the moment, obviously, you know, for any TrueView campaigns running through DBM, you can run you know, you can pull reports based on the view rate and cost per view, which gives you kind of a good indication on how the campaign performs. But these ones will actually help you understand, okay, but did it shift my kind of audience's mentality or affect my brand? Does my audience actually remember seeing this ad? So this kind of speaks quite well to you know, all the brand marketers that might be in there. Cool, that's pretty much it from me. I'm going to hop out here and jump on the Q&A. Whilst I do that, are there any questions in the room? See shakings of heads. No. I'm going to stop the screen share and then have a look at the questions. I think I've got a delayed question for you, Mathieu, around Google preferred via DPM.
If you
We
guys
can come
want
back
to
to
go
that
as
one.
well, just in case you have some questions.
On Active View, are you BC certified in the UK? No, not yet. We're actually currently working on certification, but we are, yeah, that's the one. We're currently working on certification, but we're certified in the US, and we are working towards that certification in the UK. We meet all the kind of requirements. If you look at requirements from the US to the UK, they're pretty much the same. But we obviously have that kind of certificate to kind of finalise that kind of certification. One more thing to add, I didn't actually on Active View, also kind of talk about it there, is launching much more metrics into the interface around viewability. So not just seeing kind of how many grants were actually in view of what the viewability of particular kind of site was. What you can actually do is start seeing things like viewable time, so how long was actually viewed for, things like that. Cool.
So which one are you
Do you want to take the Google preferred one?
This one? Yeah? Magic.
You just read the question. It tells what Google preferred is gone. Via DPM, I understand it's still in closed beta, but what is the process? So the process, if you want to be involved in the beta, would be to contact your account manager who can sign you up, give you some more information about this beta, and then sign you up for the beta. But that's pretty much all I'm allowed to say on the Hangout On Air, unfortunately. But yeah, do contact your account manager about any beta opportunities, and they will be able to give you more information directly.
The next one? This one.
So are you able to go over the keys part, please? I didn't understand this very well. So to clarify, it's called dynamic targeting keys. It is a way of targeting your lines of dynamic creative in feeds to DCM without having to deal with IDs. So right now you might be writing in ad IDs, placement IDs, creative IDs, advertiser IDs, there's many IDs. That's the reason why we tried to bring an easier way of doing it. So it's a little bit like a keyword, but it's not part of a keyword targeting or anything like that. It is a specific feature built for DCM and Studio, and you preset your your dynamic keys, so 150 keys. The best, as I think the best way of thinking about it is working with models of cars. So you might have audiences by models, you might have contextual targeting by models. All this targeting means that you basically set up placement by models. So you set up your placements, and then there's the key you would write in the model name. So not to say a specific car model out there, but say it was some sort of X5, you would just literally write in X5. I don't know nothing about cars, but I don't know if that exists. But yeah, you would just write in X5, and then in the dynamic feed, you would also write in the term X5. And then if any of those car models with X5s come through, then it would match up on the DCM side and the Studio side. So hopefully that answers it. There's, on the Help Center, there's a lot of information, and you can go to both DCM Help Center and Studio Help Center, and it has the information that matches the workflow for each side on how to do that. So it's quite easy.
Thank you.
You done?
Do we have any more questions in the room? No? Okay, awesome. So what we're gonna do, thank you. Yeah, I'm gonna take this. So what we're gonna do now is I'm gonna go back to the presentation, and you're gonna be able to attend either the audience or attribution workshop, depending on the one you actually signed up to attend. So sorry, I'm doing this so people on the Hangout can actually see where we are. So if you are interested to attend the attribution workshop, you would need to come with me if you're in the room, as we're gonna sign up in 10 minutes or so. And if you are interested to attend audience, you basically stay in the room here. And for those of you on the Hangout, I would need you to stay in this Hangout. And we're gonna go back to you at 2:30 p.m., literally in 10 minutes. 10 minutes. And so, yeah, and then for audience, Julie and Mathieu are gonna take us through all the audience DoubleClick features you can actually use today if you have any accounts running on the platform. And for attribution, Telu, Emma, and myself are gonna take you via DCM and search attribution. Yeah, thank you. So if you guys want to attend the attribution workshop, you need to follow us.
Who signed up for the attribution?
Elle est déjà ici. Enfin, elle est à la suite, non. Tu auras besoin de changer de tab.
Est-ce qu'on peut le mettre déjà? Comme ça, c'est prêt.
Tu veux déjà mettre? Parce que comme je dis, back à 2:30 p.m., c'est un peu aux gens de savoir que l'on va.
Je crois qu'il y en a d'autres qui sont arrivés.
Non, non, sinon je regarde un peu de...
On va voir le calme.
On est en mute là ou pas?
Ouais.
Ouais, je savais pas ce que j'avais le droit de répondre sur cette question.
La bêta, non, c'est parfait. Voilà, t'as une Are you feeling good? How are you?
Good.
No, we don't. It's usually a lady. She signed up so you don't have something to join. Just like the council, that's good, yeah, you have this and everything. Awesome, so you're staying for audience, is it?
Exactly. Just what it's
It's gonna be everything. It's gonna pull up. Yeah. Because I think
start at 2:30.
I don't know. Do you want to show it? Just. Okay. Yeah, they get me.
Just gonna wait for Matthew to be back in the room and then we're gonna start. Cool, so let's start. So Matthew and I are going to talk about audiences, and by audiences we don't mean just display one or search one. What we wanted to show you is using some use cases, how you can leverage all the DoubleClick cross-stack product features to reach out to your correct audiences. So we've already introduced ourselves. So I work mainly on search, and Matthew works in DBM. So that's why we are kind of knowledge from both sides of this presentation. In terms of the agenda, so first, Matthew will quickly walk you through the DoubleClick stack and how the products connect to each other. That's what we will use for the rest of the presentation. Then we will talk about how you can build your DCM audiences and leverage them within DBM. Then the second part in terms of use cases will be how to target first and third party audiences from DBM. And finally, we will talk about how to manage your search audiences using tailored ads. And by tailored ads, it means this is where we link DRM or Studio to the other tools to build these tailored ads. One quick thing before we move on is to make sure that people on the Hangout on Air also don't be shy to ask questions. As there is a small delay, we probably go through the list of questions that have been asked on Hangout on Air at the end of the presentation. And if in the room you have questions, just let us know either when we do some small break or at the end of the presentation. And this is the advertiser that we will use for our use case. So you can see here that we've taken people from the different teams, different roles that we usually see from our direct clients or agencies. So in this case, Michelle, she will be the search PPC manager. Cooper will be the head of robotics, so mainly working with DBM. Brie, she will be the DCM trafficker, so he's quite clear, working mainly in DCM. And Richard is our creative specialist. Now I'll hand over to Mathieu.
Okay, quick intro to the whole stack. I'm sure you're all very familiar with this, but so the way it works with all the products we have in the DoubleClick stack is we have DCM as the core, as the main ad server, and then pretty much everything then plugs into DoubleClick Campaign Manager. So you have DoubleClick Search, which will plug into DCM using the floodlights and so on. You have DoubleClick Bid Manager that will plug into DCM and sync creatives, pixels, audiences, and so on. And then Rich Media as well, so that you can, it will be DoubleClick Studio plugging into DCM so that you can use Rich Media creatives within DCM and within DBM as a whole. So let's start with DCM. So we have Brie, which is our DCM trafficker, and Brie wants to be able to create audiences, first-party audiences using DCM floodlights, and wants the DBM team to be able to use all those first-party audiences within DBM. So she has two goals. The first one is to build the first-party audiences, and then to be able to sync those to DBM. So the first thing she will do, let's say Brie already has a floodlight created and implemented on the website. So the first thing she will do is create a new audience. So within DCM, she will go into the advertiser. There's an audience tab there, which you can kind of see on the right-hand side there on the second screenshot. So the first thing she does is create a new audience. And when creating an audience, she then has the choice to select the floodlight, which is at the bottom part. You can select the floodlight. You can select if you want a normal audience or a custom audience. You can select the loopback windows. So in that case, 5 days, as an example. And the audience will be called test list in that case. So you can see that the test list on the left-hand side gets created within the list of audiences on the right, which is called test list, and you can see 5 days of loopback window. This is the second option. If Brie wants to create a custom audience, you can play around with all the values you get in the floodlight and create a specific audience list based on specific values you will be capturing through the floodlight. And again, you can play around with different operators, so you can have a specific value and not another one, or a specific value and another one at the same time. So in that case, I put Android and tablet, for example. If you get in the first variable Android and the second variable tablet, then you can create a specific audience list for those people that have populated those two variables. That's just how you create a specific custom audience list. And the way to sync all those audiences to Bid Manager is when linking the DCM advertiser to the DBM advertiser. The support team will link the floodlight ID and the site ID. So this is done by the support team when creating a new DBM advertiser. They will sync it to DCM, and automatically all the audiences will synchronize to DBM. So after doing that, we contact Cooper, which is our head of programmatic, So she will tell Cooper that first-party audiences have been created and should have synced through to DBM. So this is Cooper, our head of programmatic. He has multiple goals. He wants to drive our marketing strategy by connecting all DoubleClick products together and benefit from all the first and third party audiences the site will have to offer. So multiple goals for Cooper, who works mainly on DBM. His first goal is to be able to target all those first party audiences coming from DCM. The second one is to use DBM demographics targeting to target specific set of audience, inject third-party audiences into DBM using DMPs, private DMPs, or any partners of DBM that we have. And the fourth one is to engage with users that have interacted with specific videos from the YouTube channel. So let's start with the first one. As I mentioned, if the DCM advertiser is properly linked to the DBM advertiser, then all the audiences will automatically sync to DBM at advertiser level. So if you go to your same advertiser in DBM and you go under audiences, you will see all the audiences that you have here, and you should have a mix of DCM ones, DBM ones if you created some others, and if you linked this advertiser to anything else, you have basically all your audiences displayed in there. So that means search, YouTube, and anything else as well. If you have DMPs, you will see the audiences in there. So you see the test list here appear in the DBM advertiser. And all you need to do now, you can target this list within any line item which is part of this advertiser. So you create a UIO, and within this UIO you create a line item. And in the targeting tab, you click on Add Targeting Audience List, and you will see the new audience list UI that we talked about in the session before. And within that, you can filter by first party or third party, and then look at for specific audience you're interested in. And in that case, you find again the test list. And there's a price on the right because we have a mix of first party and third party. So all first party lists should have a price of 0. You just click on it, you can positively or negatively target this list as well. And just by clicking on it, you are now targeting this specific first party audience coming from DCM into DBM. So by targeting our DCM audience list, we give our users another chance to convert, reaching them when they are more likely to convert with tailored ads to meet our business goals. So that was Cooper's first goal. Let's go to the second one now. Cooper wants to use DBM demographics to target a specific type of audience. So imagine now that Cooper and the agency ABCD are working on a new campaign. In that case, they are working on the launch of a new product, which is a male deodorant. So they want to target this to a specific set of audience, which is obviously males from 18 to 35 years old, only in the UK. But they don't have a first party audience for this. So what they can do is use the demographics targeting that we already have in DBM. And it's as easy as targeting an already preset audience. So you go in the line item, add targeting, and you have here demographics and geography. You can combine both or use only one of them if you want. In the demographics tab, you can see on the screenshot in the middle, you can filter by gender, so you can have male, female, or unknown if you don't have information on the gender. And then you have a button to select the age as well, so you can do anything from 18 onwards. So in that case, you select 18 to 35, you select male as well, and in the geography, you can select either a country, a city, a state in the US, a county here, or you can even go up to postcodes as well. Some postcodes in London or anywhere will also work. So in that case, you combine the demographics and the geography, and this is what you get at line item level. You will be targeting gender male, age 18 through 34. and country United Kingdom. So there you go. By using this, you don't have to basically own a specific audience list, and you're able to target the right audience based on the product you're targeting as well. Third goal, inject third-party audiences into DBM. So we already have, DBM already have a lot of different DMPs integrated within DBM. So there's a lot of different audiences that you can look as a third party here, you can look for, and you will just pay a fee on a CPM on them. But on top of that, if you have a specific set of audiences that you want to plug into DBM, we can do private DMPs as well and plug those into DBM. They will appear within the advertiser audience, and they will be just as third parties. So there will be no fee for those audiences. Yeah, so similar to what I mentioned before, you can select all those audiences at line item level and add them as a targeting as well. So similar to that, if you don't have the specific list, or if you have some other lists that are not integrated with DCM or DBM, this is how you would link them to DBM. And the last option is also very, very useful. So if you have a YouTube channel with multiple videos, and you want to create a remarketing list based on the action that the users took with those videos, this is something you can do. So the first step is to link your YouTube channel to a specific AdWords account, and after that you'll be able to create remarketing lists. Your remarketing list will be based on people who have watched the video, who took an action, so like, dislike, comment, or share, visit or subscribe, or anything like this. If you have done a masthead as well, you can have a specific remarketing list based on that as well. Once that is created, you need to contact the DoubleClick team who can link all those AdWords audiences within DBM, and then similar to what I've shown you before, all those audiences will then sync over to the advertiser. They can be linked at partner level or advertiser level, depending on if you want those to be used only for specific advertiser or all advertisers under one partner. And there you go. Yeah. So by targeting YouTube users, we're able to reach a very specific set of audiences, engage with them using personalized ads based on the interaction they've had with our videos, improving performance and increasing conversion rate. And that's it for Cooper.
I'd say audiences in display, it's really common, people are really familiar with it and they use it a lot. And what we wanted to show you in this section is how you can also use audiences for your search marketing campaign. So in this case, if we take Michelle, a goal is to improve a search campaign's efficiency by understanding how audiences data are impacting a search marketing campaigns. So she will have three main goals. The first one is to easily target users that clicked on a paid search ads using DBM and tailored ads. That's the first one. Then we will also cover how she can use DSP strategies to automatically adjust target bid modifiers. And the final one will be how to report on your gender, age, and geographic targets information directly within DS. Before going there, I wanted to show you quick videos from some of the search leader companies explaining why search agencies are front of mind in 2016.
Pragmatic has certainly made great strides over the last 5 or 6 years in terms of using vast amounts of data and audience signals to understand more about the consumer. That's something that search can actually bring to the table, as well as actually understanding more about the audience, looking at people who behave like them, messaging them with ads, which may then result in behaving in a similar way and therefore converting.
Programmatic people will increasingly move towards search as it becomes audience driven, because they'll find that it's something that they can take more control of. Agencies are creating biddable departments, so I think it will join display and search together.
One of the last big horizons in terms of the growth of search marketing, one of the last big opportunities is to attract brand advertisers.
The IB ran a survey about 2 years ago where we surveyed about 130 brand advertisers, and about a third of them said that search was interested as a platform to achieve branding goals.
I think brand advertisers have recently been realising the power of search. How can we harness intent to define a content creation strategy? If you can then overlay really smart thinking about audiences, you can then be populating that content with the right people at the right time. So I think it's a really fantastic combination. Ultimately, it's going to get more complex. You know, running search campaigns has always been a pretty complex game. You've got lots of different competitors, you've got brands with different quality scores. Agencies are going to have to be smart and agile and technology literate to cut through that. But let me see, it represents a huge opportunity. It's going to be complex. The search agencies and the agencies that are going to win are those that can simplify that complexity and deliver it to clients in such a way that simply delivers brilliant business.
So now I'm going to move on. If I can go next. I have to sort out how I can move on. Yes. So if you remember, the first goal I mentioned for Michelle was to easily target users and click on the page such as using DBM and digital ads. So why we want to do that is because, as Matthew said, we know that if your users click on the page such as once we remarket them, they are more likely to convert because these are users that are already interested in buying or at least interested in your product. The first step is to make sure that your display and your search agencies are aligning on a common search and display strategy. Because quite often what we see that the search team works on this side, the display team works on this side, and there is no real communication between the two and alignment on a common goal. This is a key step to make sure that both teams are aligning and making sure that they have the same goal and they will work together on reaching it. Once you have that, one of our recommendations is to make sure that you think at which pre- and post-implementation reports you're going to run to see the impact of these strategy on your search campaign. These reports can be run into DS, they can be run into DCM in the attribution section, so that depends on which team is running it, but you should make sure that before you go to the next step and implement anything, you already have this step in mind. Once this is ready, Michelle can start creating some labels. Why does she need labels? Because this is what we will use to identify a cluster of keywords, and this cluster of keywords will enable the DoubleClick platform to gather some cluster of objects. So it's a list of cookie IDs, and this list will be the audience that the DBM team will be able to use. In terms of what type of cluster you can set, you can think at, for example, geo-targeting, cross-engine. For cross-engine, you can think, yes, you have RLS and AdWords, but you don't have it on Bing, and maybe it's valuable if you do brand versus generic, for example. You can set up some labels that are running across all your engines, and then this can be used in DBM. If you think at geographic areas, you might have some companies that are targeting some specific customers. Like if you have a new product launch, maybe you're starting with a product launch in one city, then you would want to make sure you're targeting this city here, or this type of users, because they are not for your product, there is an intent, how do you convert it? It's also interest-based, I think this is really useful. So instead of delivering generic message or generic ads to your customer, you use this interest to deliver a tailored ads to your customer. How do you do that? So once your label has been created, it has been assigned to your keywords, the next step is for Michelle to create a remarketing list. So this can be accessible directly from DS. There is a remarketing section that you can see on the left-hand side. And from there, you can just simply click on New. And then you will see a window of viewing. You just populate all the fields. In terms of the name, we recommend that you start your name with search, because then it will be really easy for the display team to identify which lists have been created in DS. Next thing to look at is the membership duration. So for the membership duration, we recommend that you set up the longest one possible. Why do we recommend it? It's because whatever you set up here, if it's too short, then the team in DBM cannot do anything about it. But if it's too long, it's possible for the DBM team
to look at it and shorten the cookie window. That means this gives you more flexibility, and the display team can adjust it if needed at a later stage. The source label, it corresponds to the label that Michel had created or reused in the previous step. And you need to make sure that you select everything that is relevant for this specific remarketing list. The next information that you need to select is to which floodlight configuration, to which DCM floodlight configuration you want this remarketing list to be assigned to. Why is it important? It's because this is how you do the link with DBM. So the floodlight configuration in DCM is shared with DBM and DS. So that means now, when this is saved, everything will be pushed to DBM. So in this case, Michelle, she has needed to create all the remarketing lists. She reaches out to Cooper and lets him know that the list will be ready to be used in DBM in the next few hours. Cooper can start working on setting this up.
All right, so as I mentioned before, since everything is synced together, DS is synced to DCM and DCM is synced to DBM. With those audiences created in DS, you will now see everything populate automatically in DBM. So same part, you go in under the advertiser audiences, and you will see this exact audience list called search brand remarketing display under your advertiser, and then you can see the source of all your audience lists, so you can see which ones are coming from where. In that case, you can see DoubleClick search for this one, and you can target it in the line item just like any other list. Okay, now that we've done DCM, DBM, and DS, let's move on to rich media. So we have Richard there, who's a creative specialist and wants to create tailored ads for users that previously clicked on a Pixels ad and then display a specific product to a specific audience. So this is just a quick overview of how the rich media world works with the rest of our products. So basically, using Google Web Designer and DoubleClick Studio, we have a creative team that will design the look and feel of the creative, and you can also create your feeds and push the content for your dynamic creatives. This will sync through to DCM, and then if you want to programmatically target those ads, you sync DCM to DBM, and your rich media creatives will be available in DBM to target to any channels or any device using DBM. So this is how it would work. In that case, Richard is creating a dynamic creative. We have a feed with multiple products for this creative, and we have one row which is called the DBM audience. So in there you can put the DBM audience ID, and you will be able to target a specific product or a specific set of products to a specific DBM audience ID. And this is using the custom value dynamic targeting within Studio. This is just an example of what different creative would look like. So in that case, on the left, you're just targeting a user that hasn't done any search or hasn't seen any product or hasn't interacted with the website yet. And on the right, a woman that has searched for a specific dress and maybe clicked on it, you can see more tailored ads based on her search and her interaction with the website. Let's get back to Brie now.
So in this example, we want to show you how you can use DCM reporting, DCM attribution reporting to see what is the impact of your DBM marketing list. So here you can see that we have done this, in this example, we have the split between search broad and search generic, but more generally what we want to show is that in this case, you can have a high percentage of conversions where the last touch was actually not on the paid click ads, but it was on the DBM remarketing view.
My pen's on.
So once you have that, you can see that this is the influence of your DPM remarketing list. So that's why I mentioned at the beginning, it's really important that when you set up these type of strategies, you need to make sure that you already have in mind how you're going to report on it. It might be through looking into DS, creating formula columns to see the uplift. Like you know that your remarketing strategy started on 1st of March, then maybe compare the statistic 1st of March to 31st of March to what happened before or to the year before. Depends on what are the trends for your clients. But just to make sure that you have this type of insights and you can reuse it. Now, what we wanted to show you here is after a month, the ABCD advertiser, they all come back together and they notice that by running display remarketing from search ads with a major finance company, they saw an increase of conversions of more than 30% and a CPA reduction of 25%. And this completely outperformed the expectations, and it gave them, and it will give you an additional insights that you can play with. Do you have any questions about remarketing service? Now let's move on to the second point, which was how you can use the RLSA big modifiers and how DS can adjust these automatically for you. The first step is to make sure that these lists are created in AdWords. Once they are available in AdWords, then DS will sync them. One of the requirements is that AdWords auto-tagging is enabled. The reason why you need this enabled is that if it's not enabled, you won't see any flow line data from this list. So it wouldn't be as useful as it can be if auto-tagging is enabled. Once you have done it, within DS you can assign the marketing list to some specific campaign or ad groups to target this correct audience. Why I say correct audience? Because you want to make sure that, for example, if in your entire account you have campaigns that are targeting different countries, you don't want to show an ad in German to someone based in the UK, vice versa. So you really need to make sure that your targeting is as accurate as possible. Another thing that you need to make sure you're properly using is your negative remarketing list. Why do you need to use it? It's because think at two ad groups. In one of the ad groups, you have keywords that are tailored for new users, like sign up and you have 30% discount or sign up today and etc. These users, you want to show them something that is specific to a new user. So this is why it's really helpful to have negative remarketing lists, because you will say, don't show these ads to existing users. Then what is the next step you can do? It's report on the recommendation that DS would suggest for the bid adjustments. Because if you simply sync them from AdWords, if you're using bid strategies, then you will see recommended adjustments. This is just within a column. It's really easy for you to have a look at it. And our recommendation is have a look at the recommendation that DS will give. See if you think the adjustment will be beneficial for your campaigns, and if you think it's beneficial, then you can address your bid strategy settings. So it's just this remarketing target bid adjustment box. As soon as you tick it for your bid strategy, that means DS will automatically adjust this bid adjustment. You need to make sure that if you want to use this feature, you need to make sure that your ad groups or campaign are assigned to bid strategies. Because for any of the bid modifiers, it's mobile, it's RLSA. If you have keywords assigned directly to a bid strategy, this will not give you any recommendation. So it needs to be campaign or ad group assigned to the DS bid strategy. In this case, after a month, Michelle noticed that with the addition of conversion reporting in DS, she was able to measure and realize the true return on investment of RLSA campaigns. And then across her agency portfolio, a team saw RLSA campaigns improve conversion rate by 70% and CPA of 53% average compared to non-RLSA campaigns. But as you have the full list of RLSA list, it's quite easy for you to, within the interface, report on what are the performances of your RLSA or non-RLSA campaigns.
Next part and last section on reporting in DS, it's to report on gender, on age, and on geographic targets. First part, if we look at AdWords location targets, so main requirement, similar to the other features, is make sure that AdWords auto-tagging is enabled if you want to see conversion metrics in DS. Now, what you can do in DS is, if you navigate to your AdWords Engine account and then go to the tab that is called Targets, you will see an entry that is called Location Target. If you go there, then you will be able to see the performances of each of your targets. You can see the performances, and you can also see which bid adjustment is currently applied. So what does that mean? That from DS, you will be able to create new targeting and also adjust this bid adjustment. This can be done directly in the UI or using budget. The next step is to move at audiences type like age and gender. So this is something you can already use in DBM when you're targeting the user. And now we have brought the capability in DS to report on this audience's age and gender segmentation. There are two ways for you to access it. The first one is using dimension, but you can also use segmentation. So it depends on which insight you're trying to have in which tab you have. For the AdWords age and gender, what you can look at is, if I segment by age, what are the performances of each of my campaigns? When I talk about performances, you can see in this screenshot that my number of clicks, of transaction and revenue are actually split by age. That's not that much data, but just to give you an idea of how it would look like. Which information it gives you is, you know that you are targeting specific audiences. So you can make sure that the message is delivered to the audiences you're targeting. If you have some messaging that are more directed to women or to men or to, I don't know, students, for example, you can have a look at this report and see were the ads delivered to the correct audience. If not, you can maybe look at, is it an issue in targeting? Is it an issue in the messaging that I'm using in my ads, etc. So here, after a month, Michelle noticed that with the addition of audiences segmentation, she had been able to improve the performance of our general client by 30%. And now she will look at performing similar analysis on other accounts across a set of clients. So with this presentation, we wanted to show you how you can use the audiences information in the different tools. So we've covered DS, we've covered DCM, how you can create your custom segments. We've covered DBM, and we've also covered how you can use Studio to create your targeted ads and make sure that, for example, if the user click on a paid search ads, you deliver them with a specific ad that is linked to the paid search ad they clicked on instead of a generic ad. That was it for us. Let us know if you have any questions.
Don't be shy. And we're going to check as well on the Hangout if there's any question online. If we can make it work. Stop sharing as well. Stop. Yeah. So we've covered all of these already. Any questions in the room? No. It was very clear. Just waiting 1 minute for the Hangout because there's a small delay. But yeah, I mean, hopefully that was helpful and insightful. And yeah, it's pretty much it. That's the end of the presentation for us. And yeah, we'll stop the broadcast in about 20 seconds. There's still some tea, coffee if you want anything until then. No worries.
Have any of you used any of these features already?
Yeah, DBM stuff. I'm not so sharp on DS. So actually, DBM stuff mostly seems to make sense.
Yeah, you're a big fan of Cooper.
Yeah. Everything might be good, right?
Yeah.
So I think what we wanted to show is really how you can work together
Yeah.
on some specific features and how you can do it actually practically.
I guess we can finish it now. Okay, we'll stop the broadcast now. Thanks to all of you for joining on the VC and in the room. And we will send the text around as well. But that's it for now. Thank you.